The name they did in Calth Ballroom was full of lights, cameras, and noise. Voices echoed through crystal chandeliers as producers, actors, and media personalities moved from table to table in sleek gowns and sharp suits. It was the night of the International Film Awards, one of the most respected nights in cinema. Ana de Armas sat at a long table near the front, her fingers gently touching the edge of her wine glass. Her dress shimmered under the golden lighting, but her smile came and went like flickering candlelight. She wasn't nervous about winning. Deep down, she wasn't even sure if she belonged there. Keanu Reeves was sitting beside her, quiet, calm, and watchful. He had arrived a few minutes earlier, slipping in almost unnoticed, but Anna noticed. He always showed up for others when it mattered. He wasn't nominated that night, but he came anyway. For her, the host's voice crackled through the speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the award for Best Emotional Performance in a Drama Feature. This year, the competition has been fierce. Anna looked down, breathing softly. Her film Ashes and Rain had earned rave reviews, especially her performance in the final scene, the one where she said goodbye to a dying child, without speaking a single word. Reviewers had called it raw and unforgettable. Keanu leaned toward her, just a little. "Breathe," he said gently. She nodded, smiled, and then the host read out the nominees. Her name was last on the list. There was a beat of silence. And the award goes to Marla James for The Broken Hourglass. Clapping filled the room. Marla stood up, shocked and beaming. She was talented, no question, but even she looked surprised. She reached the stage in glittering silver heels and gave a wide, emotional speech. People applauded. Flashes went off. Na clapped too. She clapped with the grace of someone who didn't want to show the pain sitting quietly in her chest. Keanu didn't clap, not right away. Instead, he watched Anna. Carefully, he watched the way her shoulders shifted, just a little, and how her eyes blinked slower than before. He leaned closer and said, "You okay?" Anna smiled. It was not a real one. "Of course," she whispered. I wasn't expecting anything, but she had. Not the award. It's just the acknowledgement, the nod. The respect. When the ceremony ended, people began to leave. Anna stood up and excused herself. She needed air. Outside the venue, the city lights painted her face with gold and blue. The air was cold. She didn't cry. Came to keep followed. Later, she was standing at the edge of the parking lot, arms folded. "You were brilliant," he said. She said she shook her head. "Maybe not enough." "Not true." She turned to face him. "Why'd you come, Keanu?" "Because I knew this might happen," he answered. "I didn't want you to be alone when it did." Her lips trembled. Not from the cold inside the ballroom, a small commotion had started. One of the judges, an older woman named Claire Lynn, was arguing with a man backstage. She held a paper in her hand. It was shaking. "This isn't right," she said. "Isn't the name I voted for?" Keanu didn't know yet. Anna didn't know. But something had gone wrong, and truth was about to come to light. The next morning, news began to spread on small blogs and forums. Whispers that the award envelopes had been printed incorrectly, that a technical error had caused the wrong name to be announced. Nothing official, just rumors. Anna didn't comment. She didn't believe in chasing attention, even if it hurt. But Keanu did something unexpected. He called a press meeting, not with cameras, not with microphones, just with 10 people, producers. A judge, a journalist, and Anna. He didn't speak for long. "You all know what happened," he said. "You know who gave the best performance? If you let this stay quiet, you're saying that truth doesn't matter in this industry." Looked at him. Her eyes were wide. She hadn't asked him to do any of this. A producer leaned forward. "We can't change what's been announced." Marla gave a speech. The audience saw it live. Keanu nodded slowly. "Then you fix it the right way, the human way." A day later, a journalist published a story. It went viral. Award era. IFA Insider says Ana de Armas was rightful winner. The internet exploded. People pulled clips from Anna's movie. They wrote comments, started trends, and even critics began to speak up. Marla James stayed silent. 3 days later, Anna was invited to speak on a panel. I didn't want to go. But Keanu drove her there himself. He sat in the front row as she took her seat on the stage. A young host smiled at her. "Anna," she said gently, "a lot of people believe you were the real winner last weekend." "Do you?" Anna hesitated then. She looked at Keanu. His eyes were calm, steady, full of quiet belief. She turned back to the host. "I believe in doing the work," she said. "I believe in the story. If the world sees it now, I'm grateful." The crowd clapped. The panel continued. And for the first time in days, Anna felt her chest lift. That night, she walked to her car with Keanu beside her. "Why did you fight?" "For this?" she asked him softly. He didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Because people are watching. And when something's wrong, and you don't say anything, you become part of the silence." Anna looked down, then smiled. "Thank you." Keanu looked back at her. "You still don't know," he said quietly. "Do you?" "Know what? You're going to be remembered for what you did in that film, not the award you didn't get." And as they drove off into the night behind them, the world was already changing. People had seen something real, not in the trophy, but in the truth. The truth won't stay quiet. Sunlight poured into Anna's apartment in soft streams through the windows. But she didn't move from the couch. Her phone buzzed again and again. The world had discovered the mistake. It wasn't letting it go. Her inbox was filled with interview requests, messages from strangers, directors, even other actors. Some called it unfair. Some said she should sue. Others said she should move on. But none of it made her feel better. She hadn't asked for this. She had only wanted her work to speak for itself. But now the spotlight burned, hotter than ever, and it wasn't the kind she wanted. Keanu Reeves, meanwhile, was across town, walking through a small bookstore. His phone had been silent most of the day. Not because no one was trying to reach him. He just didn't feel the need to answer. The truth had already been spoken. What came next wasn't his to control. But it still mattered. A small voice interrupted his thoughts. "Are you Keanu Reeves?" He turned to see a young woman, maybe 20, holding a worn copy of a screenplay. He gave her a gentle smile. "I am you." "You stood up for Anna," she said. Her voice cracked a little. "My sister's an actress. Things like that happen to her all the time. Nobody ever says anything." Keanu's expression softened. He nodded and said only 3 words, "Then we must." He signed her book. But before he left, he turned to her and said, "Your sister, tell her not to give up. Ever." Back at Anna's place, a knock came at the door. Soft, respectful, she opened it slowly. Keanu stood there with 2 coffees in hand. "I figured you hadn't eaten," he said simply. Anna stepped aside and let him in. They sat in silence for a moment. No words, just quiet understanding. "It's getting bigger," she finally said. "They want me to speak on stage, make a statement. Do you want to?" Keanu asked. "I don't know," she replied, her eyes distant. "If I speak, will it sound like I'm bitter? If I don't, will people think I'm weak?" Keanu looked at her, his voice calm. "People will think a lot of things. You only have to decide what you want to stand for." Anna leaned back, her eyes closed for a second. "I want to remind people why we act, why we tell stories. Not for trophies, but for the hearts we touch." Keanu smiled. "Then say that." 3 days later, Anna walked on stage during a charity event. It wasn't the glamour of the award show. It was smaller, more intimate. People who cared about art, about voices that weren't always heard. Keanu watched from the side. Anna stepped to the microphone. "I didn't win an award last week," she began. But something happened that felt even bigger. People saw something that wasn't right. They didn't stay silent. The room was still. Sometimes we don't get the recognition we think we deserve, and that can hurt. But in that silence, we have a choice. We can grow bitter, or we can grow braver. Someone in the audience wiped their eyes. "I choose to be brave," Anna continued. "I choose to keep telling stories. Not because I need applause, but because there is always someone out there waiting to feel seen." The crowd stood, clapping, not out of politeness, but because they felt it. They believed her. After the speech, an old director approached her, one who had once ignored her for a role she had trained 6 months to earn. He shook her hand. "I was wrong about you," he said, "and the world's just beginning to catch up." She didn't hold anger. She simply nodded. The next day, Marla. James, the actress who had received the wrong award, finally released a statement. "I have been silent because I wasn't sure what the right thing was. But today, I know. The performance the world is celebrating wasn't mine. It was Anna's. And I would like to return this award to the committee and ask them to do what's right." Keanu read the statement on his phone while waiting for coffee. He didn't smile. He just exhaled deeply, like someone letting go of a weight they'd been carrying for someone else. When Anna saw the message, her first thought wasn't celebration. It was relief. Not because she would get the award, but because someone else had stood up for truth too. Later that evening, the award committee made a decision. It would hold a small, private ceremony. No media, no flashing lights. Just a moment to make things right. They asked Anna if she wanted to attend. She said yes, but only on one condition. "I want Keanu to hand me the award," she said, "because he's the one who reminded me what truth feels like." And so the stage was set. Inside a quiet hall, with only a few witnesses, Keanu stood with a velvet box in his hand. Anna walked toward him, but just before she reached him, he stepped back and spoke to the room. "We make movies to inspire, to challenge, to give hope. Sometimes the industry forgets that. But tonight, it remembered." He looked at Anna. "This isn't just for one performance. This is for every time you spoke with your soul, even when no one noticed." He opened the box. Inside was the award, but it wasn't the same one from the ceremony. This one had a new engraving. "To Ana de Armas for reminding us that truth is the real performance." She held it. Her hands shook. She looked at Keanu. "Thank you," he simply said. "You earned it." Silence louder than cheers to awards sat on her shelf, quiet and still. But the story behind it wouldn't rest. Ana de Armas didn't post about it. She didn't take pictures with it. She didn't even tell her family right away. The moment meant too much. And some things she felt didn't need a spotlight. But others disagreed. A week after the private ceremony, a major entertainment outlet leaked the story. They published a long article titled, "Keanu Hands Anna, the award that should have been hers." A moment Hollywood won't forget. The article included photos someone had taken in secret. It showed Anna standing on that quiet stage, Keanu by her side, both of them holding the award together. The shot was beautiful, honest, emotional. But Anna's heart sank when she saw it. She wasn't angry. She just felt exposed. She called Keanu. He answered after one ring. "Did you see it?" she asked. "I did," he said. "You okay?" "I don't know." There was a long pause. "We didn't ask for the world to watch," she said quietly. "I wanted that moment to stay between us, not turn into some headline. The world needed to see it," Keanu replied gently. "Not for your sake, for theirs." "Wait. But it's not about me anymore, is it?" she whispered. He stayed silent. Not because he didn't care, but because he understood. Deeply then. "Let them twist it," he said softly. "Because the truth doesn't get weaker just because more people hear it." Anna sat with those words. Meanwhile, something unexpected started happening. Young actors, film students, and unknown creators began writing letters. Some sent emails, some posted videos. They all said the same thing in different ways. "I was about to give up. Your silence, your calm, your strength. It gave me hope. Watching Keanu stand for you made me believe again." Anna read dozens of them each night, sometimes crying, sometimes just holding her breath. These people weren't praising her performance. They were responding to her stillness, her patience, her choice not to fight, but to let the truth speak through her. But Hollywood didn't like silence. A week later, a popular gossip show ran a segment claiming that Anna had orchestrated the award controversy for sympathy. "Clever publicity move," the host said with a smirk. "First, she loses. Then Keanu steps in. Now everyone sees her as a quiet hero. Well played. Anna saw the clip during a lunch break on set. Someone had it playing on their phone. She didn't say a word, but Keanu saw her face from across the room. When she walked outside to get some air, he followed her. "You heard it, didn't you?" he asked. "They think I planned it," she said. Her voice didn't crack, but her hands were clenched. "You didn't," he said simply. "I know," she replied. "But now, everyone else will wonder." Keanu looked at her, his tone calm and direct. "People will always talk, Anna. They'll make their own stories. But the people who matter, the ones whose hearts were touched by your honesty, they saw the real story." She looked up at him. "But what if that story fades?" She whispered. "What if they forget?" Keanu took a long breath. "Then we keep living it," he said, again and again, one act of truth at a time. Anna didn't say anything, but she nodded. That night, Keanu posted a short message on his personal page. No hashtags, no tags, just words. Some stories don't need defense. They just need to be remembered and lived. It went viral within hours. Producers started calling Anna with new offers. Directors reached out with stronger roles. Her name was no longer just linked to a controversy. It was now tied to something deeper: integrity, humility, quiet power. But Anna wasn't chasing roles anymore. She was chasing meaning. A few days later, she received a call from a small film school in Mexico. They asked her to visit, not for press, not for performance. It's just to talk to their students. She said yes. Keanu offered to go with her, not as a celebrity, not even as support, just as a friend, he said. When they arrived, the students welcomed her with applause. But she quickly raised her hand and smiled. "No applause," she said gently. "Just stories." They sat in a circle. Keanu leaned quietly against the wall, watching the way Anna opened herself. She talked about fear, rejection, mistakes, and moments that felt like endings but turned out to be new beginnings. A student, barely 18, asked, "What do you do when the world says you're not enough?" Anna paused. Then she looked at Keanu and smiled. "You stay kind," she said, "and you let your truth do the talking." After the session, the school's director pulled Keanu aside. "We don't usually get people like you here," he said. "What made you come?" Keanu glanced over at Anna, who was laughing with the students. Then he looked back and said, "Because I believe in showing up for people when it matters most." As they boarded the plane home, Anna sat quietly, watching the clouds outside. "You know," she said, "this all started because I didn't win." Keanu smiled. "No, this started because you didn't give up." She looked down, thoughtful. Maybe the real award was what came after. Maybe," he said. "Or maybe the real award was always inside you." Anna didn't reply, but she leaned her head against the window. This time, she smiled without hiding it. The voice behind the curtain, Anna, stood at the edge of the theater stage, staring out into the empty seats. Dust floated gently in the amber lights above, and the silence wrapped around her like a warm, invisible blanket. She was rehearsing for a small play, now something different, something without cameras, without makeup trailers or tabloid pressure. Just voices, hearts, and truth. Keanu sat in the back row with a script in his lap, legs crossed, glasses on. "Your silence is too." Long after that line, he called gently, "Remember, the audience is still breathing. Don't leave them without air too long." Anna smiled, her expression tired but soft. "You've become my director now, just a friend who listens with both ears," he said. The theater had become a sanctuary for both of them. A quiet space, far from industry chaos, far from headlines. Here the only thing that mattered was the next breath, the next word, the next moment of honesty. But silence outside the theater was beginning to shift. Marla James, the woman who had returned the award, was now under quiet attack. Her management had dropped her. Her recent contract had been canceled by a major studio. She had done the right thing, and Hollywood was punishing her for it. Anna found out through a private message Marla had sent her one night. "I don't regret speaking up, but I wasn't ready for what came after." Anna read it over and over again, her chest tightening. She had stayed silent during the media storm, but maybe now was the moment to speak again, not just for herself, but for Marla. The next morning, Anna went live on her account for the first time in years. No filters, no lights. Just her, sitting on her small balcony with the morning sun behind her. Keanu was sitting inside, watching quietly. "I want to talk about someone brave," Anna said softly. "Someone who told the truth when it wasn't easy." She paused. Voice shook just slightly. Marla didn't have to return that award. She could have kept it, stayed silent, kept working. But she chose something bigger than comfort. She chose integrity. And now, the industry that praised her is turning away. Her eyes met the screen. If we don't stand by people like her, then we don't deserve people like her. It was one of the shortest live videos she ever did, just under 4 minutes, but it exploded directors. Writers, actors, big names began reposting it, speaking out. Marla's name started trending again, but this time with support, within 2 days. Marla posted her own video. "Tears in her eyes, Anna. Thank you for not letting them erase me." Keanu watched all of it unfold from a distance. He didn't speak online, but he showed up for Anna's next rehearsal earlier than usual, bringing fresh tea and a small envelope. "What's this?" she asked, opening it. Inside was a letter from a young girl named Layla in Spain, handwritten in shaky English. "I saw your video with my mom. She said you were the reason she didn't quit acting yet. I don't know what acting is yet, but I want to be like you." Anna's hands trembled as she held it. "Do you see now?" Keanu asked quietly. "See what? You didn't just correct an award mistake, Anna. You started something much bigger." But even as that truth grew, so did something darker in the background. The head of the award committee, a man named Victor Halden, had begun a quiet campaign. Not against Anna or Marla, but against the idea of error. He gave interviews stating that the system had not made a mistake, but rather followed standard process. He suggested that Marla's act was a gesture of humility, not correction. When asked directly if Anna was the rightful winner, he smiled and said, "That's not for me to say." Anna's heart sank when she heard it. They were rewriting the story again, this time not through applause or silence, but through distortion. She met with Keanu that night at their favorite cafe. The same one he always sat at on quiet Tuesdays? "He's trying to erase what happened," she said. Keanu nodded. "They always try to protect the system, even when the system is wrong. So what do we do?" Keanu looked out the window, thinking. Then he said slowly, "We tell the story again. In our way. Without shame, without anger, with grace." She frowned. "Where? How?" He smiled. "Through film." And just like that, the idea was born. They would make a short film, not about awards, not about names, but about what it feels like to be forgotten in plain sight, and still choose to rise. Anna wrote the first draft within a week. It was simple, raw, almost wordless. A young actress wins nothing. She walks off. Stage, she weeps in silence. A friend shows up. He doesn't speak. He just walks beside her, until she starts walking again, this time toward a small school. She teaches children how to act with their hearts. Keanu read the script and said 2 words. "Let's start." They financed it themselves. No studios, no agents, no big names, just quiet truth. And when it was done, they didn't premiere it at festivals. They uploaded it online. "This is not about revenge," the caption read. "This is about remembering who we are." Within hours, the film spread like fire. Comments poured in. "I watched this with my daughter. We cried together. I've never seen something so simple. Speak so loudly." Keanu and Anna reminded us what art is supposed to feel like. The film became more than a short project. It became a movement. Small theaters across Europe, Croatia, and Latin America reached out, asking to show it to their students. Anna and Keanu agreed. As long as the screening stayed free, let it belong to them, Anna said, and Keanu simply nodded. But in the quiet spaces behind that growing wave of love, someone was watching. Someone who wasn't ready to let the truth stand. Victor Halden, and he was preparing something that would bring doubt back to everything they had built. The trap behind the Plaza Keanu Reeves stood near the back wall of a quiet gallery in downtown Los Angeles. It was the screening of their short film this time, hosted by a small independent arts group. Chairs were filled, soft music played. Between showings, and everywhere he looked, people wore quiet expressions. Expressions of reflection. Anna stood near the door, greeting a few young actors. Her voice was calm, her smile sincere. But beneath it, Keanu saw something else. The tension in her hands, the stillness behind her eyes. He knew something was coming. So did she. 2 days earlier, a journalist had sent Anna an email. It included a draft of an upcoming article titled, "Was the award mistake real?" No. New documents raised questions. Attached was a photo, blurry but clear enough to identify. It was a scanned image of an internal memo, allegedly from the awards committee's office. Dated 2 weeks before the ceremony, in bold letters, "Final recipient, Marla James confirmed. No change required." The article claimed that there had been no printing error, no envelope swap. Instead, the original voting results had been altered weeks earlier. Someone had changed the outcome. On purpose, Anna had stared at the memo for several minutes. Keanu, "Read it too," then looked at her and said softly, "This isn't your fight alone. But it's my name on the story," she whispered. "And mine beside it," he replied. They both knew what would come next. More headlines, more questions, more people trying to rewrite the truth again, but now with legal shades, technical terms, and misleading timelines. The article was published the morning after the gallery screening, and the reaction was immediate. Some news anchors questioned Anna's integrity. Again, some called her a media darling clinging to sympathy. Others called it the biggest misstep in award history. Anna didn't respond. Not because she didn't care, but because this time, silence felt stronger than shouting. But Hollywood didn't like silence, not when scandal was involved. One morning, Anna received an official notice from the award committee. It asked her to attend a review meeting to discuss public statements that may have harmed the institution's reputation. She showed Keanu the letter. He read it once, then twice, then said, "They're not reviewing your words. They're warning you? So should I go?" Anna asked. "Yes," Keanu said, "but not alone." On the day of the meeting, Anna wore no makeup, no jewelry, a simple white blouse and black slacks. She walked into the large boardroom with Keanu beside her. Inside were 10 members. One of them was Victor Halden. He didn't stand. He didn't smile, just said, "Miss de Armas, thank you for coming." Anna nodded. "Thank you for the invitation." Keanu remained standing beside her, silent. Victor cleared his throat. "We're here today to discuss recent statements made in interviews, videos, and social media posts that suggest our organization engaged in unethical practices. These statements have led to significant public backlash and have placed us in an uncomfortable position with our partners and sponsors." Anna didn't blink. "So the concern is your reputation?" "Among other things," he replied coldly. "We simply want to set the record straight." Keanu finally spoke. "Then let's—" The room fell quiet. Victor narrowed his eyes. "With respect, Mr. Reeves, you are not." "I'm the man who was there when the original mistake happened," Keanu said, his voice calm but firm. "I was there when one of your own judges admitted the wrong envelope had been printed. I was also there when you refused to publicly acknowledge the correction." Someone on the committee shifted uncomfortably. Anna placed a hand gently on Keanu's arm, not to stop him. "Just to say, I'm here too." She turned to the room. "I've never claimed perfection," she said, "but I have claimed truth. And if that threatens your sponsors more than a lie does, then the problem isn't my words." Victor leaned forward. "Miss de Armas, we're willing to make this go away. Quietly, if you step back." Anna raised an eyebrow. "Step back from what?" "From the movement, from the video, from this false idea that something bigger was stolen." Keanu stepped forward. "You want her to unlive her truth." "We want peace," Victor snapped. "Then you should have chosen it," Keanu replied. A long silence followed. Finally, an older woman on the committee stood up. Claire Lynn, the same judge who had first spoken up after the award mistake. I Was there too, Claire said. Her voice trembled, but only a little, and I remember what happened. I regret not fighting harder at the time, but I won't stay quiet anymore. She turned to Anna. You don't need to defend yourself. She said, You've already done something none of us had the courage to do. You told the truth. You kept telling it. Anna's eyes filled with quiet gratitude. Victor stood, gathering his notes. We're done here. No, Keanu said. You're just beginning. That night, the story broke wide open again, but this time from inside the committee itself. Claire. Lynn resigned and published an open letter describing the internal pressure to silence the error. She confirmed that votes were changed, that names were adjusted, and that Anna was, without question, the rightful winner. The internet didn't explode this time. It stood still. People weren't just angry now, they were ashamed. And for the first time, Hollywood itself began to shift. Directors began asking public questions. How many other awards were quietly mishandled? How many times has silence been bought? Anna didn't post anything. She simply met Keanu that night at the cafe. They didn't talk much. They just sat. Until Anna finally whispered, What now? Keanu looked at her. Now we keep walking, he said. We tell better stories, with cleaner hearts. And if they ever forget again, we remind them. Anna nodded slowly. I never asked to be the center of this, she said. You didn't. Have to, he replied. Sometimes the center chooses you. Outside, the night was quiet, but something had changed in the air. Truth was no longer behind the curtain. It was walking proudly in the open. Her name in quiet gold weeks passed. Then months, the noise slowed. The headlines faded. But the story stayed. Ana de Armas was no longer just an actress in the eyes of the public. She had become a symbol. Not of scandal, not of controversy, but of quiet strength. The kind that doesn't shout but holds steady when others fall. Offers kept coming. But this time they felt different. The scripts were stronger, the roles more meaningful. Not just because she had proven her talent, but because she had proven her heart. And that, in Hollywood, was rare. Keanu Reeves stayed beside her never, in front, never behind, always beside. The world kept asking why. Reporters wondered aloud. Fans speculated. But neither of them answered. Because some bonds don't need explaining. One morning, Anna woke to a letter slipped under her door. It wasn't from a studio. It was from a girl. Named Maya, in a small village in Argentina. Handwritten. Barely legible, with drawings around the corners. I saw your video on a projector in our school. We don't have much here. But I saw you. You were sad. But you didn't stop. I want to. Be like that. Mama says that's real acting. Not for money. But for the soul. Anna sat in silence for a long time. Then she folded the letter, placed it gently in a wooden box, and added it to a growing collection. Later that day, Keanu picked her up in his old black truck. He had that calm look again, the one that made people stop and listen without knowing why. Where are we going? Anna asked as she climbed in. Someplace quiet, he said with a smile. They drove north, out of Los Angeles, past the hills, into long, winding roads surrounded by trees and silence. Finally, they stopped at a small cliffside park. No signs, no cameras, just a bench facing the sea. Anna looked around. What is this? Keanu handed her a small plaque. Her eyes widened. It had her name engraved into it, Ana de Armas. For when truth was louder than applause, her breath caught in her throat. We're going to bolt this here? She asked softly. Keanu nodded. Not for the world, just for us. And for anyone who happens to sit here and needs to remember. Anna smiled through tears. They bolted it. Into the bench. Together, when they sat down, neither of them spoke. The ocean stretched before them. Soft winds moved through the trees. It was there on that quiet cliff that Anna finally let herself cry. Not from pain, not from fear, but from release. From the knowledge that she hadn't lost anything. She had gained something deeper. Truth, love, and the power to keep. Going, Keanu reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a worn envelope. "What's this?" she asked. He handed it to her inside. It was the original award envelope, the real one. It had her name on it, typed neatly. Winner, Ana de Armas. Ashes and rain. Anna stared at it, stunned. Double quotes. "Where did you get this?" "Someone gave it to me quietly," he said, "before the committee. Locked everything away." "Why didn't you show it before?" she asked. He smiled. "Because you didn't need it then." She held the envelope tight against her chest, and in that moment, she finally understood. It was never about the trophy. It was about being seen, being known, being remembered not for how loudly she fought, but for how deeply she stayed true. Months later, a new awards ceremony was held. The industry had changed. Not completely, but a shift had begun. Transparency was now part of the process. Anonymous votes made public. Nominees allowed to receive breakdowns. A small step, but a real one. They asked Anna to attend, not as a nominee, but as a speaker. She walked on stage in a simple gown. Her steps were light. Calm, she stood behind the podium, looked into the eyes of thousands, and said, "I am not here to talk about mistakes, or trophies, or apologies. I am here to talk about truth." She paused, because truth doesn't need defense. It just needs to be lived and remembered. The hall stood silent. Then came applause, soft at first, then rising, but in her heart. The loudest sound wasn't the clapping. It was the memory of a man who stood beside her when the room stayed seated, who believed in her. When the world got quiet after the event, Anna walked outside. Keanu was waiting beside his truck. "How'd it go?" he asked. She smiled. They clapped. She said. He nodded. "But that's not why you did it." "No," she said. "I did it because someone once told me. The real award was always inside me." Keanu chuckled. "That guy sounds wise." "He is," she whispered. They drove off again, not into fame, not into noise, but into the kind of silence that feels like peace. The kind that means the storm is over and the truth still stands.